Salutare! Datorită faptului că am avut o mică problemă cu cardul de memorie al camerei și am pierdut unele filmări, iată-mă aici încercând să fac o prezentare a ceea ce urmează să vedeți în videoul de astăzi. Videoul acesta o să fie pe placul celor pasionați de istorie. O să vizităm un oraș din Franța cu o importanță destul de mare din punct de vedere istoric, și anume orașul Arras și carierele de sub el, carierele Wellington. Ceea ce este special în legătură cu orașul Arras și carierele Wellington este faptul că a avut un rol foarte important în timpul Primului Război Mondial, și anume aici trupele britanice împreună cu francezii au pus la cale un plan destul de ingenios, și anume sub oraș se aflau 20 de cariere dezafectate și ei au decis să conecteze aceste cariere prin tuneluri, prin 19 km de tuneluri săpate de către mineri aduși tocmai din Noua Zeelandă, și aici au fost staționați soldați din toate colțurile lumii, din partea aliaților, cum ar fi Canada, Noua Zeelandă, Australia și Africa. Au venit experți din Noua Zeelandă, mineri, au săpat tuneluri, săpau între 80 și 100 de metri pe zi, ceea ce este incredibil, folosind doar târnăcoape și unelte rudimentare, n-au folosit explozibili, deoarece săpau practic sub linia inamică, sub nasul germanilor. Arras era exact la câțiva kilometri de linia inamică, așa că au decis să sape pe sub oraș, să ajungă fix la linia inamică și să ia prin surprindere. Dar o să vedeți mai multe detalii în video ce urmează. Și da, acest complex de tuneluri și cariere a adăpostit în momentul atacului surpriză peste 20.000 de soldați și au stat acolo timp de câteva zile până au decis să atace. Dar mai multe detalii vedeți în ceea ce urmează, sperăm că o să vă placă și vizionarea plăcută.
Quarries to live during 1 week non-stop underground, and on April 9th, 1917, the tunnels that are linking the last quarries to the battlefield will blow up, and in only one morning, those 24,000 soldiers will be in front of the First German line. So this plan is one of the biggest surprise attacks of the 20th century, and that's the plan of the Battle of Arras that we will discover more in detail inside the Wellington quarry itself. That's clear for the moment?
Coridoarele sunt foarte largi și înalte.
Just here some remains of the wood of the World War I, and obviously due to over 100 years and this humidity inside the quarry, approximately all the wood have disappeared from the quarries today. And the second reason of why they placed Waitomo here is that they may have compared the hugeness of the Waitomo caves to the hugeness of the quarries when they went here. And I let you imagine that without electricity and without torchlights that I'm using today, they couldn't be able to see the top of the quarries that we do now. So they compared the fact that they had a night sky around them at the Waitomo cave to the sky that they couldn't see here inside the quarries.
That's it.
Imagini cu scoțieni. Ce tineri înrolați în război. Coridoarele sunt foarte largi și înalte.
Stalemated, and in which the fighters are buried on both sides of no man's land. The front line must be broken through. In the fall of 1916, French and British Allied powers meet at the headquarters of the French army in Chantilly.
The Germans between those 2 points have no food, no ammunition, no water, and also no reinforcements.
Yeah.
So they are alone, okay? So that's the final goal of this plan of the Battle of Arras and Chamadam. But the Germans know that since the Battle of the Somme, all these parts have been really fragilized due to the Battle of the Somme. And they know that if they lose this part of the front, they are not able to recover it. So they know that this part is really sensitive. So they are going to defend themselves from an attack that could break the front line at this place. And what are they going to do? They will decide to retreat their troops, to abandon this part of the front by retreating their troops in a fortified line that we call the Hindenburg line. And actually this line is a huge problem. The first problem is the number of soldiers. If we have the same number of soldiers in a semicircle as we had just before, the soldiers are spitted everywhere on the front line, but here with a straight line, all those soldiers are really on the first front line of the are really all together. So the plan of the Battle of Arras to bring all the Germans to the north will be completely useless because the Germans won't need that much of soldiers to go on the north. So we know that there will always be some soldiers at the sector of the Chemin des Dames at the Battle of the Chemin des Dames. But the biggest problem actually is that even though the French and the British can break the front line, they have no space to encircle the German lines as it was planned before. So we know that even though they can break the front line, the final goal can be reached. But when the Germans retreat their troops, we are at 1 month of the beginning of the Battle of Arras. So we are too close to the deadline to rethink the plans. So we just decide to cross the finger and hope that the surprise effect will be enough to break the front line. But by the way, so we are just here under an extraction shaft of the medieval ages used by the inhabitants of Arras during the medieval times. So this place haven't been used by the soldiers during World War I. And actually this pit is the only access that leads to the quarries during the medieval times. So to explain really fastly how it works, you dig a tunnel on the vertical just here. Once you are at the good depth to have a chalk that is good, you extract everywhere, everything inside the quarry. And once
Great Britain, London, and Manchester, and New Zealand, with Wellington, Nelson, and new tunnels are dug to interconnect the quarries and former galleries of war to allow the troops to go through.
Acestea sunt noile tuneluri săpate.
An addition of 43 Maori from the New Zealand Pioneer Battalion was sent out. They build wooden buttresses in areas where the vaults tend to slope. Tough and often dangerous work. A 19-kilometer network is built under the Germans' noses.
19 km au fost construiți sub nasul armatei germane.
The company tunnelers were mostly professional.
just above our head, that would have been too noisy and too dangerous for the quarries themselves. So 80 meters per day with only pickaxes in deep depth of chalk, that's really huge. They could go up to 100 meters a day, and they haven't got only the slings to do. They also had to put the wooden structures, as you have just here, to avoid the rocks to collapse on the soldiers, and they also had to link the entire network with the electricity. And in 1917, having the electricity of inside the 19 kilometer network underground the city, that's really, really huge, actually. You can come with me.
Avem aici uneltele care au fost folosite la săparea tunelurilor, tocmai pentru că nu puteau folosi explozibil ca să nu fie auziți de către germani.
Places to cook, places to sleep, etc., etc., etc. So for the moment, we'll only deal with the consumptions of the soldiers. So we can see just here some bottles that have been found inside the quarries. So we obviously have water bottles. We also have just here a Perrier bottle, sparkling water. Okay, that's quite luxurious at this moment actually. We also can find alcohol bottle like whiskey and rum for the soldiers, for the British soldiers, and also sauces like the Tabasco sauce, the HP sauce, etc., etc., etc. And all those products are here to give more taste to the products eaten by the soldiers. And just here we have a part of all those products. So we can find just here some food with the face of the King of Great Britain. Just here we can find the toffees that are a traditional dish of Great Britain. We also have what we call the monkey food, the canned food, the pork beans, etc., etc., etc. And obviously all those products are not coming from France. All those products are directly imported from Great Britain to give to the British soldiers a part of Great Britain with them. Home sweet home, actually. Yeah. Poor British soldiers who didn't add the French gastronomy, by the way. You can come with me. So you can see just here in front of you the bunk beds used by the soldiers. So no blankets, no pillow, nothing like this, due to humidity that would have been too dangerous. So they are sleeping directly on the wood. We also can see just here the same helmet as we are wearing, but this one is 2 or 3 times heavier as ours. So, and they have this one 24 hours and 24 actually. And just here on this side we have another important aspect of this way that's used to live the soldiers. We have the latrines, the toilets. Actually that's quite easy to use. You have 2 blocks of wood with a hole on it and a bucket just behind. We can see it, but if we go on this way we can see that there's another hole with any separation between the 2 toilets. You can see it? Yeah?
Yes.
History to check with your friends while you are making your stuff. But by the way, what I want you to understand is that when the bucket is full, you have to take it out from the quarry. And as I said before, there's not one exit per quarry. The only exit that exists, actually, is leading to the city center of Arras. So when the bucket is full, you have to take the bucket with everything inside of it. I let you imagine. Making 5 kilometers in a way from quarry to go to the city center, to empty the bucket outside, and then you make all the pass in the other way to put the bucket back in its place. I let you imagine for 1,500 men for 1 week inside one quarry. So let's imagine for 24,000 soldiers.
How many times they went
Oh.
to empty?
Sorry?
How many times they went
Yeah,
out to empty?
yeah. And the smell
Yeah.
also at the end of this week.
Țineau și ceremonii religioase.
Lift up thine eyes and seek his face. Life with its way before us lies. Christ is the path, and Christ the prize.
That well, that the day just before the Battle of Arras, he went with his map in order to planify the last orders before the beginning of the battle. And obviously he hadn't had to prepare the battle by himself. He had to discuss with other officers of the other quarries, and he used the Morse code that we can hear just here in order to communicate with the other officer. I let you imagine that in a 19 kilometers network, discussing by chatting by his voice, inside that would be too complicated. So the Morse code will be set up here inside the quarries during those 6 months. The third one just here represents another lady. So for this one, she's on profile. We can even see that she have a hat and a flower on her hat. Can you both see that the drawing is oval shaped for this third one? Before the beginning of the battle. So we're hearing going from this tunnel, fulfill this bottle close to you, and go to the other way to the battalion headquarters, where we come from. Okay, so just in front of you, you can see one of the tunnels made by the New Zealanders during the 6 months of digging. So this tunnel is 200 meters long and is linking the Wellington quarry to the Auckland quarry 2,000 meters away. So to give you an idea, if this tunnel is 200 meters long, it means that the New Zealanders dug it only in 2 days. To show you the hugeness of the work made by those
200 de
men.
metri
So to
lungime.
locate you to the outside, if we were inside the Auckland quarry, we would be under the car park of the Leclerc that you may have, so the supermarket.
Yeah.
So here we are just under the birth park of the Wellington quarry. Okay.
Cu 2 minute înaintea luptei. Trăim exact momentul în care se pregăteau să atace. 1 minut.
everything that we saw during the tour? You know, everything's great?
Yes.
So as we talked about it at the beginning of the visit for the age of the soldiers, do you remember maybe the 19 years man? To give you an idea, the youngest boy to die during the Battle of Arras was only 14 years old. You can come with me.
Să vedem cum s-a și terminat războiul.
Designed to give the French room for maneuver down south on the chemin des Dames. The front line is 20 kilometers long. Several tens of thousands of men are there. The attack against the German forces in the trenches has been prepared painstakingly. Up north, 4 Canadian divisions are casting their efforts on Vimy Ridge, from which Prussian cannons have been bombarding Arras for 2 years. In the centre, in Saint-Laurent-Blangy and Monchy-le-Preux, along the valley of the Scarpe, General Allenby's Third Army features soldiers from South Africa, Newfoundland, Scotland, Wales, and of course England. Down south, 4 Australian divisions as well as a British division are in charge of the attack in Bullecourt. At 5:30 a.m., the troops rush forward in the freezing mud. The Germans are completely taken by surprise. The garrison of the first defense, known as the Black Line, surrenders. Telus, Bailleul, Saint-Laurent-Blangy, Tilloy-les-Mouflaines, and Neuville-d'Itas are now in control of the Allies. Up north, the Canadians spring out of the tunnels a few dozen meters from the enemy lines and take hold of Vimy Ridge. As the German General Ludendorff said, if the British had continued to press forward, the war would have taken on a totally different aspect. On April 10 at 10:30 a.m., at the Third Army headquarters, General Allenby announces that the enemy is in disarray and that the fighting will continue on April 11. But this means the Germans have a full day to assemble fresh troops and prepare their heavy artillery. This is a turning point in the battle. The enemy is back in control all along the front line. April 11, heavy snowfall in Monchy-le-Preux. The soldiers are suffering from the cold, as well as hunger and exhaustion. The order to attack is given at 5 a.m. They are under enemy fire. The Germans have the upper hand. They're in ambush in the village. And yet, on April 11, the British succeed in taking control of Monchy-le-Preux. In Bullecourt, the Australians have temporarily succeeded in overtaking the first German line, but with very many fatalities in the process. In Wancourt, the 3rd British Division, which along with others had found shelter in the quarries of Arras, has taken the village away from the enemy, but additional German troops arrive in the evening of April 11. The British are exhausted. They have no supplies and there are no additional men to rescue them. Despite their courage, the British are defeated and the offensive comes to a grinding halt. On the eve of April 14, the area around Monchy-le-Preux is once again in the hands of the Germans. A small group of soldiers from Newfoundland manage to salvage what is left, ash and rubble. In the following days, the Battle of Arras, which was supposed to be but a diversion, turns into a bloodbath. Over a period of 2 months, 4,000 men are killed each day. The Germans have succeeded in stopping the offensive. The hopes built in the first 2 days have been completely dashed. It has taken far too long to unleash the great French attack. When it finally takes place on the Chemin des Dames on April 16, the French troops are decimated. General Nivelle is disavowed. In April 1918, even before the last cannonball is fired,
the Canadian soldiers decide to erect a monument in Telu to celebrate the first anniversary of the Battle of Arras. And yet the breakthrough that the Allies had planned and hoped for did not occur until the summer of 1918, to be followed by the Allied victory and the armistice on November 11, 1918. The devastated, eerie landscape has begun to attract visitors. People travel long distances to take in the damage caused by modern warfare and to perpetuate the memory. An area of devastation has become a place of pilgrimage. As soon as the armistice is declared, the battles are celebrated and a tribute is paid to the conflict's very many victims. Cemeteries and burial grounds bear witness to the relations and respect that nations sustain with their dead. France has chosen a rational approach, with huge areas strewn with headstones that hearken to the rows of soldiers. The British Empire, however, has decided to bury its soldiers near the battlegrounds. The landscape burial grounds are reminiscent of the Garden of Eden. The design of the German cemeteries embraces Germanic mythology, which is based upon man and nature being as one. Trees are an essential part of the cemeteries. They attend the soldiers' eternal rest. Memorials and monuments are erected. They pay a tribute to national heroes and help families from all over the world grieve their loved ones. The reconstruction of Arras begins at the same time as these places of memory are established. For life to resume, reconstruction is necessary. Historical monuments are rebuilt identically. City Hall, the Belfry, the squares, the Abbey and the Cathedral. The pre-war history of Arras is restored. Yet an additional painful component has been added to it, and it is cast in the stones of the monuments and memorials that have now become an intrinsic part of Arras and its surroundings. The hills and plains of Arras feature 13 of the region's 40 most significant World War I sites. Most of them have an international dimension. At the heart of the Hauts-de-France region, the scars left by the fighting are so numerous and so poignant that the hills and plains of the Artois have become international tourist destinations for visitors who come to mourn, remember, or simply discover. The Ring of Memory in Notre-Dame de Lorette is the latest of the large international memorials. It was built at the time of the World War I centennial, and it contributes to transforming the perception we have of the history of the fighting by adding a universal dimension. Nearly 600,000 names are featured in alphabetical order without distinction of any kind, such as nationality, rank, gender, or creed. It is an elliptical structure which seems to hover over the landscape and is open onto the plain. Its shape symbolizes the eternity of remembrance, while its position harkens to the fragile nature of peace. Memory rekindled, living memory. Mémoire ravivée, mémoire vivante.
Și am terminat vizita la muzeu, care a fost destul de emoționantă,
Da.
fiind legată de război și având în vedere și vremurile pe care le trăim, să vezi și să ți se explice în detaliu ce înseamnă un război, ce înseamnă o bătălie și ce fel au fost acele vremuri. Ideea este că aici au fost descoperite 20 de cariere și pentru bătălia de la Arras au săpat tuneluri care au conectat toate aceste cariere pe o distanță de 19 km.
Da.
Și ideea a fost să poată să atace de sub pământ, să atace armata germană,
da.
linia de front, să treacă linia de front în partea deținută de germani și să ia prin surprindere. Ideea e, au reușit, doar că în final au pierdut lupta, să zic așa. Din păcate, trebuia să fie un atac surpriză, trebuia să fie cum să zic,
O
ambuscadă, da, ei trebuiau aceasta trebuia să fie să le distragă atenția prin aceste tuneluri și aliații să atace prin alte zone. Dar nu a ieșit exact cum au plănuit ei Și cum am zis, este destul de emoționant. Sunt foarte multe monumente legate de primul și al doilea război mondial în această zonă. Poate să mai veniți să mai vizităm din ele. Sunt și cimitire și monumente ridicate în cinstea soldaților care au murit. Ideea e că aici au avut parte de suportul aliaților și mai exact din toate colțurile coloniilor engleze, din Noua Zeelandă, Australia, Africa.
Da.
Și
Canadieni,
da, și cei care au săpat tunelurile între aceste cariere au fost mineri din Noua Zeelandă.
Da.
Au adus oameni specializați în așa ceva, să poată să sape și să săpau în jur de 80-100 de metri pe zi,
Da.
ceea ce este foarte mult.
Cu unelte, fără să folosească dinamită,
Da.
tocmai pentru că nu puteau să facă zgomot, ei săpând sub soldații nemți.
German, da.
Ei nu trebuia să audă, să facă niciun sunet, ce au folosit metodele clasice.
Da.
O muncă extraordinară.
Da. Târnăcoape și casmale lopeți. E impresionant oricum. Acum,
Da, faptul că a adăpostit și în jur de 20.000 de oameni,
Da.
iarăși este impresionant cum au putut să trăiască acolo în subteran și să...
Bye.
Bye, thank you very
thank you
much.
again. Da, au stat timp de o săptămână, au stat sub pământ, în aceste cariere, în aceste tuneluri și așteptând momentul în care trebuiau să atace linia inamică. Au locuit acolo, acolo găteau, acolo își făceau nevoile și de fiecare dată scoteau găleata afară în centrul orașului să o golească după ce mergeau la toaletă. Imaginați-vă de la 20.000 de oameni să mergi 5 km ca să arunci găleata. E incredibil. Și da, este un monument aici în zonă care are numele a 600.000 de soldați scrise, este un monument în formă ovală.
Da.
Și sunt scrise 600.000 de nume, fără naționalitate, fără grade, doar numele și atât ale oamenilor care au pierit în război. Cum am spus, este destul de emoționant. Așa că noi o să încheiem aici videoul.
Da.
Nu știu dacă mai mergem în centrul orașului sau mergem către următoare destinație, dar vedem. Oricum, sperăm să vă placă acest video, să vă fi prezentat un pic din ceea ce am văzut noi aici și vă mulțumim pentru vizionare și ne vedem în video următor.
Pa, pa!
Pa.